Hi there, Chris from TotallyEV. Here I'm doing a dedicated audio review of the all-new Hyundai Kona Electric. If you want a detailed review of the vehicle itself, make sure you check it up on your pop banner or by following the links down in the description below or the pinned comments. Now to kick off, I have to talk about its audio configuration. And as standard in the Advanced and the N-Line trims, you'll find a 6-speaker setup. You've got a singular speaker found within each of the 4 doors and then tweeters within the A-pillars. If, however, you go for the N-Line S or the Ultimate trim, which is on review, you'll find a 7+1 Bose audio system. Now here, it's actually technically an 8+1 system, because you have got those audio drivers that are found within each of the 4 doors, and then you've got tweeters at the front, but then within the dashboard, you have got a twin setup, a tweeter and a mid-range, which therefore some people will claim that it's an 8-speaker setup. And yes, in case you're wondering, the final speaker is located in the boot in form of a subwoofer. Now, no driver sizes or wattage have been shared by the manufacturer, but if I do get this information, I will make sure that I pop it as an annotation or in the written review that can be found in the description below or the pinned comments. Now, for you to tinker around with the audio drivers, you want to navigate on the 12.3-inch infotainment system, and on the Bose configuration, you'll find a dynamic speed compensation, which I actually had enabled. As for its position, I left it in terms of its center position, in terms of the balance and fader, while in terms of the equalizer, I left the treble and the mid-range in default, while I took 2 notches off the bass EQ. I'll touch upon why further down in this video. Now for you to connect up to the infotainment system, you have got Bluetooth with the SBC and AAC codec supported. If, however, you want higher audio fidelity, you'll want to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, because these are both supported over a wireless and wired transmission, the latter being the better out of the two. Now with all that said and done, let's talk about the overall cabin noise. And here the objective measurements that were recorded in the cabin will be on your screen. Now what I'll say subjectively, however, is that at higher speeds you will hear a little bit more of rolling noise. And on this press vehicle there was a bit of wind noise that was deflecting off the A-pillars and a bit of wind noise that was creeping in via the window sills. Therefore means that it might have been a little bit of a production error. Nonetheless, in the grander scheme of things, it's still pretty minimal, but it's not exactly the most serene interior cabin experience that you'll be able to attain out there. Now, for me to give you a little bit of a demonstration of how the audio system performs, I'll be placing the camera and microphone in 4 separate locations and playing back a track. It's from Priya J and it's titled Like Me. So I appreciate an audio demo over YouTube is never quite ideal, but I thought to provide it as it gives you a little bit of a taster. In terms of my own subjective opinion, I'll say that the overall sub-bass experience is there, and this is due to the fact that you've got a dedicated subwoofer in the boot. So therefore, in comparison to the stock audio system, it does do a much better job. However, it's worth considering over here that in comparison to other subwoofer systems out there, for example, the likes of Harman Kardon audio systems, or indeed, for example, the Tesla system, it doesn't quite compete. And this is because the subwoofer just doesn't extend as low as it should do, and therefore means it just feels a bit cut short. Therefore, for bass heads out there, you might be left wanting a little bit more. Now, in terms of the mid-bass, however, it's actually pretty punchy, no matter where you're sat within the cabin. And this is due to the fact that the woofer drivers that are positioned within each of the 4 doors do actually do a pretty good job. In fact, in my case, even from someone who listens to a lot of R&B, dance music and EDM, I actually reduced a few notches via the bass EQ via the infotainment system. This is because I felt it was just a little bit over-bloated. Now this does of course leak into the mid-range, specifically the lower mids, and therefore impacts the overall performance of vocal tracks. This means that you just have to expect that there's a little bit more of a V-shaped sound signature, which is not too bad in the grand scheme of things, but here if I compare it to the likes of the Tesla Model Y, which is the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to forward-sounding mids, or even the older Krell audio system that was comprised within the upgraded Hyundai Kona, then I just felt that over here the overall mid-range of the new Kona Electric doesn't quite do the same sort of job, and therefore doesn't give you those forward-sounding vocals. Now as for the highs, it's a little bit of a hard one to judge because I actually left the treble EQ in terms of its default configuration because I felt that while listening to music at the front of the cabin, the dedicated tweeters while positioned within the A-pillars do a decent job. But I just wanted a little bit of extra notch on them. But if I added one extra level on it, the EQ, I felt that it was just a bit too ear fatiguing, and that's because the highs become a bit too piercing and harsh at the top end, especially while listening at louder volumes. At the rear, however, there are no dedicated tweeters, and as such it almost means that the rear occupants will want a few notches added onto the treble EQ, while the front occupants will actually want it in terms of the default EQ. Of course, this is again very subjective, and due to your own hearing range, you might actually differ from my own opinions. In my case, my ears roll off at 16 to 17 kilohertz, which is actually pretty high for an adult. Now, as for the overall soundstage, the instrument separation is pretty competent, and the same could be said about the overall width and depth, therefore meaning that you're going to get a good sort of fulfillment and engagement while you're listening back to your favorite tracks. With that said, it still doesn't compete with some more premium audio systems out there on the market, simply due to the fact that they offer a wider degree of audio drivers within the cabin, or of course a little bit more extra refinement and indeed separation. Here it's still good to see that you have got that mid-range and tweeter driver that are found within the dashboards, so yet again if you're comparing it with the stock audio system that is found within the all-new Kona Electric, then it is going to do a much better job. Now ultimately what I'm trying to say over here is that the upgraded Bose audio system is going to be very much appreciated for those people who like listening to music, due to the inclusion of that center audio driver and also the subwoofer, and as such it gets our audio approved awards. However, all things considered, and if you do look at the price of the vehicle and compare and contrast it with some of the alternatives out there on the market, it's a little bit disappointing. I was just expecting a little bit more from Bose and also Hyundai. Nonetheless, I'd be curious to know what you make of the audio system down the comment section below and how you feel it compares with some of its competitors. And if you have enjoyed this detailed independent review, definitely do consider dropping a like, subscribing and hitting that bell notification, all of which would be greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Chris from TotallyEV, and I hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.